Welcome to Backyard Cigars. Today I'm going to smoke another vintage smoke, but it's not going to be as old as normally. It is from the 1960s. We're going to take a closer look at it right now. We're going to come back and we're going to light and smoke it. And we're just going to talk a little bit about Tampa history and the significance of this particular company within Tampa's long legacy of historic cigar rollers and cigar factories. Welcome to Backyard Cigars for a closer look of the Rico Havana blend. And this cigar is, as I mentioned, from the Tampa Rico Cigar Company. Tampa Rico Cigar Company. Known pretty much as a Buckeye shop. We're going to talk more about Buckeye shops once we start smoking it. But the history of this cigar, and we're going to unwrap this, and if you're wondering why I'm giving this cigar the white glove treatment, it has to do with the fact that I was working out in the yard and my hands are just atrocious. They're clean, but they're atrocious. So I don't want to... Okay. You know, this company, the Tampa Rico Cigar Company, was started by the Puig family. The Puig family moved from Cuba to Ybor City in the 1890s during the infancy of the district's hand-rolled cigar industry. The Puig family worked in cigar factories but earned extra cash by rolling their own cigars at home for sale on the streets at a few cents each. Mario Puig, born in 1905, began rolling cigars by the age of 8. So the real beginnings of this company are in 1905, with the birth of the patriarch Mario Puig. But the company itself wasn't established until about 1939. So Mario Puig, born in 1905, begins rolling cigars by the age of 8. And in 1939, Mario Puig, a 34-year-old man at this point in time, opens Tampa Rico Cigars, a small hand-rolling shop on the corner of 13th Street and 7th Avenue in Tampa, Florida. And in 1977, Mario Puig partnered with his stepson, Jerry Garcia, and moved the shop to Ybor Square, to the old VM Ybor Cigar Factory, which is now a Church of Scientology. Several family members joined the team, and together they expanded by opening King Corona on 7th Street in 1998. Ybor Square closed in 1999, and hand-rolling ended for the family, so the shop sold cigars and coffee. The family sold the business in 2017, but the shop continues under new ownership. So, if we take a look here, there is nothing on the cigar that says Tampa Rico Cigar Company, but the box does. So this was a cigar that's available on the vintagecigarstore.com, and they sell it. It's listed as 1960s Tampa Rico Duke cigar, and that's what's on the box. So that's not incorrect. And it's listed from the 1960s. But when in the 1960s? I'm going to take a guess that this is post-embargo, only because of the 100% import tobacco. Now, why would I say that there is more than likely zero Cuban tobacco in this cigar, despite it being from the 1960s? Well, I could be wrong. It could be from 1961, 1960 on the dot. And then in that case, it would be using Cuban tobacco. But when you look at the box for this cigar, what you see is that the box specifically indicates what the band indicates, which is 100% import tobacco, long filler, but it also talks about Cuban seed tobaccos. So Cuban seed tobaccos, and when you hear that, you pretty much know that you're not dealing with Cuban tobacco. You're dealing with something else, Honduran or Nicaragua, or even Dominican for that matter. Now, in the 80s, this particular company struggled. And there was an article written by the University of Florida that indicated that business continued to upward climb until it became too much. The demand was there, but we didn't have the manpower to accomplish the goal, he said. So in 1987, Tampa Rico let its hand rollers go. Most of them were in their 70s, and one was 96 years old at the time. Don, at this point in time, the company is under Jerry Garcia is running the business, and he was the one that persuaded Mario to move the business to the Ybor factory and the square. And so Don then made a connection with a Cuban immigrant who grew wheat in Honduras. He introduced Don to the cigar rolling market there. And it wasn't long before Don had found in Honduras the quality and type of tobacco he needed for his signature stogies, as well as the special hand rolling techniques that give Tampa Rico cigars their reputation. So let me make a correction right now. Don, when we were referring to Don, that was Don Barco. And Don Barco was Brenda Barco's husband. And when they took over this business, Brenda was considered the heart and soul of the operation. I mean, she really worked her butt off to make this work. And despite the trials and tribulations, they had quite a fan base. I mean, when I gotta let you know, look, this King Corona, this is one of the historic, legendary cigar lounge shops of Tampa. They are or were routinely listed as one of the Big Seven or Big Ten legacy cigar shops that had been around for so long and had so much popularity and were so well known for the quality of their cigars and just for everything that they did for the cigar community. So if I'm correct here, as I was stating before, Jerry Garcia was partnered up. He was Mario's stepson. And Jerry had a daughter, Brenda. Brenda married Don Barco. And together they took over King Corona. Jerry remained as president. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, the shop was sold in 2017. And a long time customer / fan of the place bought the lounge, updated it a little bit, and it's still there. It is still there. That's fine. I'm not gonna give this cigar a wet treatment. I want to, but I'm not. I'm just gonna see what it's like. And but it has been stored at 72 RH for 30 days. So we're gonna take a better look, and we're also gonna talk about the potential blend of this cigar, where I think the tobaccos here come from. Welcome back from a closer look, and I just want to start off by saying that I was wrong. Completely wrong. I was wrong about the Cuban tobacco. I was wrong about the box. All those suspicions I had, I did say I could be wrong. Well, I spoke with George of the VintageCigarStore.com today, and he told me, yes, I can assure you that those Tampa Rico cigars are pre-embargo. And not only that they say Rico Havana blend on the band, but he can confirm indeed that they were for the English market. And the English market is very finicky. They're not going to take Honduran tobacco or Nicaraguan tobacco. Not at this time. Not at that point in time. Not in the post-embargo or even pre-embargo for that matter. I mean, they could still get their Cuban cigars. So their interest in Nicaraguan and Honduran cigars, that's not something that happened overnight. It took time. So I was wrong about that. I can assure you that this does indeed have Cuban tobacco, especially knowing that it went to the English market. The English market selection, they're very finicky. There's a certain criteria that needs to be met for certain cigars of that nature to be sent there. So, yeah. So, what can I assure you of with this cigar if you were to purchase it? About $35. What I can assure you is that you will be getting a complete Cuban cigar. This is just a straight up Cuban cigar. Just before the embargo. That's what you're getting here. And about $35 a pop, not bad. And from what it's smoking right now, it's smoking like a nice, smooth, aged Cuban cigar, which is what it is. But more importantly, it's smoking and it's imparting a lot of flavor, a lot of spice, a lot of salt. A lot of the Cuban characteristics are all there, right? Are all here. And yeah, it's mild because time has mellowed it out, and I'm sure it was never an aggressive Cuban cigar to begin with. Generally, the English market selections, they're better smoked dry, as is their way of receiving them and smoking them. They prefer a drier Cuban cigar. So I would say, when in Rome, or as they do in Rome, if you buy this, try to smoke it at a lower RH. Don't keep it at 68, 69. Keep it at 62, 63 RH. You say that's too drying? I don't think so. I don't think for this type of cigar you're gonna run into any problems. If you're keeping it for an extended period of time, you'll still be okay. Check on it every now and then. But okay, so you don't want to do 62. You think that 63, 64. Try that. Wonderful aroma, but a really pleasing sweetness in the finish as well. Yeah, this is really, so it's mild, right? But it gives you a little bit of flavor with the mildness. So you get this feeling you're smoking one of the milder Cuban versions, right? And so, as I was speaking to George, what we talked about is the fact that pre-embargo, there were companies that had a stash of Cuban tobacco, and they were making it. So even 62, 63, 1962, 1963, you still had even some American companies like this one and others that, El Producto, as George mentioned, another one, that still had a little bit of Cuban tobacco, and they were rolling cigars and sending them to Europe, to the English market, where their sale was legal for the stash they had. Once they ran out, that was that. You can't even purchase anymore. But you were allowed to use what you had, and make use of it they did. Yeah, it's just a really mild cigar. So for me, I'm not into mild cigars like this. Not this mild. But let's see how it develops. So this is just a pleasing, mild Cuban cigar. It really is. I just feel like it's a really pleasing cigar because it gives you that Cuban flavor. You still get a hint of that Cuban flavor. It's there. and the age hasn't dulled that. And but it's mild, so I imagine if it started off as being particularly mild, that it's going to be a little milder now. Light spices in the finish, a little bit of saltiness as well, as I mentioned. It's nice. I can't say anything bad about it. It's just a little milder than what I prefer to smoke. But if you like a milder cigar with a decent amount of flavor, some light baking spices in the finish, I think you would love this. Not like it, I think you'd love it. And the fact that it's Cuban tobacco, right, is probably going to attract individuals that are chasing those cigars which contain the pre-embargo tobacco. This is for you, because I think it's very well priced for what it is. And I just think that if this is what you're looking for, you're going to find it in this. So in closing, I just want to say that companies like Tampa Rico, they would not have been as successful if it wasn't for the work that was put in the early part of the 19th century, when Vicente Ibor came about and really just changed the game there. And I think the birth of all of these small Buckeye shops, as they called them, Buckeye shops, right? What are Buckeye shops? Buckeye shops were normally refer to these small hand-rolled operations that tended to use tobacco from Ohio, and they didn't necessarily need to be in Ohio, but it was just sort of like, I guess you could say, a moniker that they would have. You know, it's a Buckeye shop. They're using a lot of domestic tobacco. They're hand rolling. It's small operation, couple of rollers. And that's the type of operation that this began as. So that's why it's commonly referred to as a Buckeye shop. Obviously, as time went by, things changed, right? Apart from just the blends changing, the way they did business changed. So all of those things into consideration, I think what you have here is a nice. Is it a Cuban puro? I don't think so, right? I think we talked a little bit about the blend, so I don't think it's a Cuban puro. But listen, I like this cigar. Great morning cigar. I just wish it had a little bit more. But again, that's a preference thing. That isn't, you know, it's a bad cigar, good cigar. I'm not saying that. It's a preference thing. And again, I've smoked a ton of mild cigars. I've liked a lot of them, even if that's not my preference. I've enjoyed them, and that's just it. You enjoy what you like when you want to enjoy it. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, it picks up a little bit in strength and a little bit in the flavor as you get towards, you know, the ending of the cigar. So you'll find that that's quite common. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for watching Backyard Cigars. Until next time.